I've always been fascinated by reed beds. As a teenager, I vividly remember paddling through the edges of Hickling Broad in a kayak and seeing my first ever bearded tit. As a curious and rather reckless child, I can still clearly recall exploring a papyrus swamp in Uganda, searching for frogs and snakes. There's something very special about the secret world they create. Go into a reed bed and you enter a very different, unfamiliar place, and incidentally, one in which it's easy to get lost. It's an enclosed world of water, vegetation and sky. It hems you in, and the horizon and familiar landmarks disappear. There's a uniformity to the channels, bounded by tall reed stems, each one looking very much like the rest. A reed bed has its own microclimate, with a breeze passing over it but seldom passing through, and it's somehow quieter than the world outside. Quieter, but never silent. If there's a breeze, it creates a soft susurration and whisper as it strokes the top of the reeds. Because the birds and animals that live here are so hidden from each other, they have a range of calls and sounds that allow them to find each other, or sometimes avoid each other, amid the dense forest of reeds. Rails squeak and squeal as they slide their narrow, laterally compressed bodies between the close-growing stems. Bitterns boom out their deep-carrying love songs. I have two favourite reed beds, and despite being on different continents, they have much in common. The most distant, like the one I grew up with in Uganda, namely the Okavango Delta in Botswana, a vast papyrus swamp. The nearest is infinitely smaller, but no less fascinating. The reed bed on Otmore, RSPB, my local patch. Of course, there are worlds of difference between them, but they both have that secret hidden quality that I love. There's no big game or crocodiles on Otmore, and the papyrus and elephant grass of Okavango is replaced by phragmites and reed mace on the moor. Notwithstanding, seeing a family of otters or a weasel in your familiar patch can be a real treat, and all the more so because it doesn't happen every day. On the other hand, in Okavango it would be extraordinary if you didn't bump into a large herbivore or predator. Reed beds offer security to wildlife. In winter, starlings roost in our reed bed on Otmore, many thousands of them taking advantage of the security offered by a multitude of perches, with water under them making them safe from ground-based predators. When it's cold, the microclimate amongst the reeds makes the temperature very slightly higher than the air outside, and on a frosty night this can be the difference between life and death. Other birds take advantage of the cover of the reed bed in which to nest. Marsh harriers build a pile of reeds and vegetation upon which to lay their eggs and raise their chicks, relatively safe from foxes or badgers and screened from open view. Common cranes clear a circular area, snipping the reed stems low down and creating a large heap in the middle on which to lay their eggs. Reed warblers create their cup-like nests supported by 3 or 4 stout stems. Then, gradually, they become more concealed as the new growth comes up around them. Fish spawn among the underwater stems, and the fry find a safe haven there in which to grow, away from the deeper water hunted by larger, more voracious predatory species, such as pike or perch. However, here they can fall prey to herons, egrets and bitterns that wait silent and motionless, suddenly stabbing downwards and snapping them up with a rapier-like strike. It's very beautiful watching a reed bed change through the year. Sere, dry and ochre in the winter, sometimes rimed with frost or bed with snow. In the early spring they appear most lifeless and desiccated. But as the spring draws on, so the green shoots begin to weave their way up through the old growth. As we get to summer, a green tide line steadily makes its way upwards until by midsummer it's overtopped last year's growth. In late summer and into autumn, the silky tassels at the top of each stem open. At first they're a dark purplish colour, but over the next few weeks they change through a range of soft bronzes and coppers, until finally, when a soft blonde colour, they set seed. Then the whole seasonal cycle starts round again. I can't believe I'm ever going to lose my fascination for these places, or for the specialised creatures that live in them. The synthesis of water, the structural patterns and the shifting reflections, coupled with a fascinating fauna, mean I could never get tired of the look of them or their wildlife. Come to think of it, who needs Okavango?